Today, as you know, we will cover the first part of the communication training program. Today, it will be quite an introduction to the world of digital PR and social communication. We can say that this path will be led by two different trainers from our side, from the communication side. Carmen will be with us, but then she will leave the place and the room to Isabella Borelli, who is another huge expert, very young but very professional expert on these topics. She has been selected because she has a very important experience in this field, not just in communication and social awareness activity, but especially in the development of this kind of activity in our framework, that is to say, in institutional communication, which in other words means in communication activity that devoted, addressed to very sensitive categories of people, or about very sensitive topics.
I'd like to explain to you how you can gain knowledge about social media and how you can tell your story so you could develop a counter narrative on social media. And the last part will be the acquisition of social media moderation techniques, so how you can reply when you find hate speech online. But Isabella Borelli, the marvelous Isabella Borelli, she is a colleague of mine, and she will explain to you this part. And our index, we will have 3 hours. Today we will talk about communication overview, and the second tomorrow element of social media strategy and storytelling. Last one, how you can spread your mission on social media. So let's start. Communication overview. The word derives from the Latin communis, so we are from Latin, not maybe German, yes, a little bit, but our origin, European origin, origins are from Roman, and means to put something in common with others. So in order to have an exchange of information, an interaction needs to occur between different subjects. Okay, so if I want to exchange my information, I need to have an interaction with you, for example. So a certain degree of collaboration is assumed between the communicating parties. Interaction is the fundamental prerequisite to communicate, coordinate, and cooperate. All activities, I think that you know perfectly, all activities without which humans and consequently communities, businesses, entities, and organizations could not exist. So, every single communication process includes very specific elements based on the goal to reach. So we have a sender. The sender codes the message he wants to send with the symbols, signs, gestures. For example, I'm Italian, and I speak with my hands, with gestures. I know I'm very Italian for this reason. And so the message is transmitted through a channel, verbal, interactive, television, social media. And once the message reaches the receiver, it is decoded. The receiver so could process a response or feedback. When do we have an effective communication? Do you want to reply? Okay. When the information communicated enters in the motivational area of the receiver. So, my communication this morning will effective if you will process a response or feedback, because my training will enter in your motivational area, because in this moment I'm the sender and you are the receiver.
Carmen, sorry, are you sharing your screen? Because my screen is black.
And
That's
for
very
the other,
strange.
do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Carmen.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So it's my problem. Okay.
Do you want to
Do
go
you want
out
to quit and yes, indeed, and enter again?
Okay.
Okay, maybe we could use this gap just to make a summary of the very first 2 points I think are absolutely important for our communication activity, because on the one hand, it seems quite silly and obvious what we are saying, but on the contrary, they are very huge pillars in a communication activity, especially regarding about some kind of, sorry, admit Laura, I'm trying to admit it, okay. So the first one is that the message is related to some kind of coding, which means that if we use different codes, we as the person sending the message and the person receiving this message, if we use different codes, the message cannot be understood. As I said before, it seems obvious, but it is not. And the other important point, I think, it's the fact that the communication is successful as far as it enters the receiver's sphere. So there is some kind of movement in the communication process which brings the one person to another, one communication sphere to another communication sphere, which is the sphere of the person sending the message and the sphere of the person receiving this message. I think that in the meanwhile, Laura could join us again. Laura,
Yes.
are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Can
I
you
can
see
see
my...
Yes, I can see your screen. Thanks.
Okay, great.
Okay. So
we can go on.
as you know, we have two kinds of media: traditional media like television, newspaper, and new media. The evolution of digital technologies brought about significant changes in the way we communicate. In fact, digital communication can be understood as a combination of methods and activities. The peculiar relation, architecture, and the high degree of connective led to the development of a non-linear and interactive logic. So we can in this slide you can see that we could I'd like to talk about media communication direction. And we have different types of communication: one-to-many, one-to-one, and many-to-many. One-to-many is a typical communication in the traditional media because there is one sender and many receivers. Thanks to digital communication, thanks to social media, the situation changed. So now we could have a different kind of communication where many senders and many receivers, and receivers could be also a sender. So this allows you to develop a high potential, the ability, for example, the ability to potentially share any type of information with a huge number of users, who in turn will do the same. From a traditional model of pushed communication, where the sender issuer or pushes the message towards the recipient without establishing a symmetrical relationship. Now, thanks to social media, we moved to an interaction based on dialogues, and this is very, very important for you. So because you will have a dialogue with your audience. For example, this slide, I think that show clearly the communication of many to many. Because, for example, we have community player, blogger, journalist, victim, and traditional readers. And so everyone could be a sender, everyone could be a receiver. And this characteristic related to the available, this characteristic is typical of new tools such as a social software, and have allowed the development of widespread practical implementation. This is also due to the increase in user engagement, who is able to exercise a greater control over the tool, is stimulated to play a more active role in the use of predefined messages and new contexts. For example, in this case, we could have influencers who is influencer who is able to exercise a greater control over their tool, and so he is stimulated to play a more active role in this world. And I think that I know that it could be stupid when I say that the term social network indicates a network made up of people connected in some way. For example, now we are connected. So Chiara and me, we are connected on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and this is very important because a network of contacts constitutes a set of relationships. And why is it important to communicate on social networks? First of all, the numbers. The numbers of the sector have become huge in a few years. Every single day, the number of of users increases and millions of messages are created. We have in the world, this is a research of We Are Social and Hotsuite. We Are Social is an incredible agency, and Hotsuite is one of the most important platforms to manage social media. And they say that in the world, 380 billion of people are active social media users. So this is a very massive number. In this slide, you can see the increase, and in this slide, you can see that the world's most used social platform is Facebook. We have Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, WeChat, and Instagram. You can see that Mark Zuckerberg is the owner of the world, because Facebook, WhatsApp, Messenger, and Instagram, yeah, Mark Zuckerberg is owner of that. So, why is it important to communicate on social networks your mission? The use of social media allows no-profit to, first of all, have a tool to reach a massive audience, because you saw the numbers. The numbers are very incredible. And you could create a community. This is very, very important for your mission. And you could develop the relationship with your audience. I think that your audience is composed by teenagers, and you could increase the sense of belonging and create a strong network. You could exchange information and experiences, and you could also tell your story and increase the awareness and reputation. It's very important to use your social network, because you can see also the results, because social networks, thanks to social networks, sometimes I have a problem. Thanks to the social networks, you can measure your results. So when you create a community about your specific topic, you could avoid the risk to be radicalized, because you could create a sense of belonging, and you could create the roots for your audience, your target. And I think that my life is activism, and I think also your life. And the communication in this case is activism. And in the summer of 2014, 2 African-American men were killed by police officers, like George Floyd, the same situation. And people began to realize that police brutality towards African Americans was very common in the United States. And the hashtag Black Lives Matter became very popular on Twitter. And since its inception, it generated a domino effect of events that not only changed the way we could view police officers from the side of the US citizens, but also how the whole world perceives social media. Today, we have hashtag All Black Lives Matter, and this is an evolution of this kind of hashtag. And Amnesty at Hate Speech Task Force, I was a member, and I think 2 or 3 years ago. And you know that online hate speech amplified by social networks is the new frontier for those who are active and fight in defense of human rights. So this is a Amnesty wants to counteract those, and the task force is composed by common users like me, for example, and they could reply to online hate speech. The topics are migration, Islamophobia, ethnic minorities, gender issues, and LGBTI, because these topics are very, very hot topics. And so Amnesty International activated monitoring and also a response work. And but social media is important also because for example, fundraising. Here we have WaterAid. This is one of the most important case study for the no-profit and social media. And the case is WaterAid wanted to create a big dig project and launched a massive campaign built on photographs shared by Instagram and on short video reports shared on the social network profiles of the organization. And thanks to this action, they raised 2 million and 2.5 million of pounds, and its goal was just 1 million. So it's incredible. This is incredible fundraising, and the money was used to build a water network to ensure clean water and sanification for thousands of people in Malawi. So I love this example, because I think that you could understand how the social network, when you use well social network is your friend. So in this slide, there is a bullet point. You can see this, and social media have different functions. Creating events, getting to know of other organized events, carrying out fundraisers like WaterAid could teach us. And so you can, social media could facilitate it, no-profit campaigns. And I think that for your mission is very important to use social networks, because you could create awareness about your fight, and you could to invest in communities and the human being. And I think that there is a quote. Pamor is a CEO, a guru of digital communication, and she says you can never go wrong by investing in communities and the human beings within them. So my goal is to try to teach, to explain to you how you can communicate on social media. And first of all, it is very important because you have to know your audience, because you cannot, for example, if your audience is composed by teenagers, Twitter is not useful, okay? Because teenagers use Instagram and a little bit Facebook. And it's very important to have a strategy, because when you have a strategy, when you have clear goals, you could have a good presence on social media. But I think that tomorrow we could talk about strategy and the element of social media strategy and storytelling. I'd like to know if you have questions, if you want to say something?